Welcome back, Indy NXT Debrief, as we reflect on the action on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course for another doubleheader weekend in a crazy weekend which turned the tide of the championship and saw two first-time winners in Indy NXT.
This will be a slightly different Indy NXT Debrief, given that we flew out to Indianapolis for the 500 pretty much as soon as the weekend was done, so we will only give some quite brief overviews of what actually happened this weekend. But to make up for that, we have 3 driver interviews with both the winners and a podcast regular, Alessandro de Tullio, finally speaking to him in person as well. So Tymek Kucharczyk coming later, Enzo Fittipaldi first off, who won race 1, which Dan, you'll talk through briefly.
Yeah, race 1 was an interesting one. The first time we've seen Indy NXT in the wet this season. We had a race that started off very dry before it got a little bit wetter, forced the teams into a mandatory change to wet tyres under a red flag before the action got underway again in wet conditions. A bit of a topsy-turvy race all throughout the field, but late on Enzo Fittipaldi made the race-winning pass on Lockie Hughes around the outside of turn 7, which showed him his first win in Indy NXT. Hughes recovered to finish in second, whilst Nikita Johnson finished in third, and he retained his championship lead over the weekend.
Race 2 was somewhat more rudimentary, slightly less incidents, not the same wet conditions, and it was the reverse of the front row, which was de Tullio starting on pole from Taylor in the first race. Taylor started on pole from de Tullio in the second race, and on this occasion it was again not the pole sitter who won. Taylor finished second. He lost the lead at the start, as he did in St. Pete, which he was a bit frustrated about once again, but it was ultimately Tymek Kucharczyk who broke through for his first win after a spectacular start to the race. And yes, he led home Hughes and Fittipaldi, who was on the podium again. So the championship is pretty tight.
This weekend really saw the championship flip on its head after the third point in the season. It's now all very close at the top, and we kind of have a bit of a breakaway four who look like they'll be the ones battling for the Indy NXT Championship. So Nikita Johnson retains his lead that he held at the end of Barber Motorsports Park, but his gap has shrunk to just 11 points over Tymek Kucharczyk, now in second. Max Taylor now in third is a further 3 points back, 14 for lead, and Enzo Fittipaldi is also right there, 16 points lead in fourth in the standings. So it's all very close, all very exciting as we're going to head to Detroit next time out. But let's play in our driver interviews. We start off with our race 1 winner Enzo Fittipaldi. You'll then straight away hear from race 2 winner Tymek Kucharczyk, who is maybe the most entertaining guy out there, so that's a really fun listen. And we'll end off with Alessandro de Tullio, obviously the pole sitter for race 1. Okay, so we're now joined by race 1 winner at the Indianapolis road course in Enzo Fittipaldi. Enzo, you're finally an Indy NXT winner, and there's kind of no better place to do it than at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just kind of give your reflections on what it's like to finally win an Indy NXT.
Yeah, firstly, thank you so much, Dive Bomb Motorsports, for having me on here on the podcast, and just super, happy about the result we had at Indy. It was a very special weekend for me. We started 10th on race 1, and we ended up winning the race. We had amazing pace. The race started out dry the first half, and we moved up to 3rd, and then it started to rain. We changed to wet tires, and we were the quickest on track, and we ended up taking the victory. And yeah, it was a nice way as well with, a few laps to go. A nice move around the outside to secure the win was very nice. And yeah, just super special, obviously, because as well, my family has a very successful history at Indianapolis. So, it was my first time ever racing at Indianapolis. My first ever race, and I won it, so it was super nice and very special, and it was also a cool way to win, going from mid-pack and taking the win.
And it was an interesting race because obviously it kind of went from dry to kind of semi-wet, and then it went pretty wet towards the end. So just talk about the challenges as you kind of transition through kind of the dry phase, then being on wet tires with it still being fairly dry, and then obviously being quite wet, kind of your comfort in all of those conditions and how that all evolved.
Yeah, it was tricky because it started to rain quite early in the race, and then there was some parts of the track that were pretty slick on their braking. I enjoy those conditions a lot. I mean, I have driven in those types of conditions a lot in my career, especially coming from Europe, where, UK, Europe in general, it's almost like 50-60% chance of rain all the time, so you get a lot of wet driving, you get a lot of damp conditions driving, and I feel like I was super strong and I was able to show my skills in those conditions. And yeah, I was actually happy it started raining because I was like, man, I know this is my moment to excel and to move forward, because Indy, it's a track that you can overtake, but it's definitely a lot harder in the dry, because these cars, we don't have DRS like Formula 2 or Formula 1 or Formula 3. It's a lot harder to do an overtake, and when you do an overtake, you really have to send it. It's kind of like old school racing, you know. We have the push to pass that helps, but it's obviously nowhere near as powerful as a DRS, what I used to use in Formula 2. So yeah, when I saw it started raining, I said, man, this is my opportunity. I have to drive the shit out of the car now in the rain and get the win. I mean, that was the goal in mind, and conditions were very tricky indeed.
And obviously you spent kind of a little while kind of almost stalking Lockie and following him while he was in the lead. So just talk about that sort of situation where kind of you have to balance patience with obviously being pretty desperate to get that first win. So yeah, what was that period like while you were kind of chasing him and weighing up when to make the move and just being patient?
Yeah, I was just sitting behind him. I was kind of like studying where he was quicker than me and where I was stronger than him. So his weak points, and I just kind of really like stayed just there behind him, watching where I was faster and what corners, like where I would gain time under braking, and thinking where I had to prepare a move. And I knew it'd have to be at turn 7, because he was really struggling through T5, 6. So in my mind, I said, you know, I have to attack him into turn 1. So get a nice run out of the last corner, so that I could be close to him. So he defends in turn 1, and then I could be very close to him through 3, 4. And then where I was a lot stronger than him was through the high speed 5, 6. So I could get a run into 7. And that's what I did. And we were able to get the move done. But it was difficult. It took many laps of like, you know, just sitting there and being patient, because, you know, it is very easy in those moments to make a crazy dive bomb and end up ruining Lockie's race and my race. So, you know, especially in those tricky conditions. But I think I executed very well, and it was like at the perfect moment, because 1 or 2 laps later, there was a safety car, and then it ended up, you know, finishing the race there. So if I would have waited longer, I could have ended up not getting the pass done. So it was perfect timing.
We see a lot of people compare the IMS road course to tracks that are in Europe, and that's kind of the most similar on the US side to European venues. Is that something you would agree with? And if so, kind of how does that benefit you considering your background racing in Europe?
I'd say IMS is definitely the closest, like in terms of like the way that the track feels, like asphalt wise, like it's super smooth. And it reminds me a lot about Europe, because Europe, when you race in the same weekends as Formula 1, they always like resurface the tracks every 2 or 3 years. So the tracks are super smooth, like perfect. There's like 0 bumps, which it's nice, but at the same time, you miss bumpy tracks. Like as a racing driver, you know, those rough tracks, old school tracks, it makes the driving technique and everything different. And it's harder to drive as a driver. It's easier for the drivers to make mistakes. So that's something that I missed about Europe, and that's something that there is a lot here in the US, are these bumpy tracks, like old school. I mean, there's the grass and then the wall. There's no like runoff or like, you know, so it's very old. Like I like this way. I think it's more raw. And I agree. I think IMS is probably one of the closest tracks to Europe. Together, I think with, they say Road America is like the Spa of the US.
Let's look back to kind of the end of last year. You'd obviously been racing the European Le Mans Series. You've been out of single-seaters for a year after you left Formula 2. So kind of just detail what plans you were looking at the end of the season, eventually how you ended up here at HMD Motorsports.
My goal, like ever since growing up, I always had a dream of racing in IndyCar and trying to win the 500. That was one of my childhood dreams always growing up, because I grew up in the US and everyone watches the 500 here. And yeah, I would always watch it every race with my family, every year with my family. But at the same time, I also had, my dream was Formula 1 as well. And so I was on the road to Formula 1. And when I saw that, you know, there wasn't any more opportunity to get to Formula 1, you know, it's a lot about timing, a lot about sponsorship. And yeah, you know how F2 is. It's very up and down. You know, you're having really good momentum. I remember in 23, I was like third or fourth in the championship, and then the next race you get a little bit unlucky because of a yellow flag in qualifying, and you end up getting unlucky in the race because of a safety car, and then just F2 is a bit of like a gamble. And yeah, it didn't work out, but you know, as soon as I saw the opportunity to come to the States and try and make it in IndyCar, I didn't think twice about it. It's always been a goal. It's always been a dream of mine to race in the States, and to hopefully one day be racing the 500 and win it.
And I suppose that's a bit different because a lot of drivers from Europe tend to have found IndyCar maybe a bit later in their career, and then they'll decide to come over having maybe started watching it while they've been, I don't know, like in their mid-teenage years or something. So I guess from those early days of you kind of watching IndyCar, obviously being involved in it through your family, I guess, what's kind of the big appeal of it been? I know you kind of mentioned the raw racing, but maybe aside from that, are there any other big things about the IndyCar ladder that kind of really stood out to you?
I like the way the race weekends are. It's a lot like you show up and you race. Like we're there, we're racing, and there's no bullshit. You know, everyone's there. They all have one goal, and you're trying to, you know, get that win. And it's, as a racing driver, I love, like, that's, you know, when I grew up in the karting days, it reminds me a lot of whenever I was growing up. And you know, you have relationships with the drivers outside the track. You know, you talk, you crack jokes, this and that, and then you get to the track and there's no friends and you're there fighting for the win. But then when I was in Europe and going to the F1 race weekends and stuff, I don't know, I just felt like it was a lot like a show. You know, it was I don't know, I just felt like I really enjoyed my time in Europe and in Formula 2. But I just think there is a slight difference from IndyCar and Formula 1 in that aspect, where I just feel like IndyCar is more raw, more, you know, I don't know. Yeah, just more raw racing. I feel like when I was, you know, going in the F1 weekends, a lot of it, there was a lot of show going on outside of the race. And I feel like a lot of people go to the Formula 1 races. Like, I think a lot of people go and some people don't even know the race is going on because they're more focused on how the paddock is and who's in the paddock and this and that. And what's cool about IndyCar is like everyone that goes, the fans that go there, it's because they are passionate about racing and they love racing. So that's, the atmosphere is just different.
And I'm interested just about kind of the start to your year as well in Indy NXT, because obviously it got off on a bit of the back foot in St. Pete qualifying. But I guess since then, how do you feel like that kind of development or adaptation process has kind of progressed and kind of just getting adjusted to the series? How has that been?
Yeah, man, you know, what happened in St. Pete was, I mean, geez, it was, you know, it really caught me off guard because I was in qualifying there. We were getting up to speed second, third lap. I just had a big moment in turn 3 and hit the wall really hard. And it was, you know, took quite a lot of damage to my car. And it kind of really affected us that whole weekend because we couldn't repair the car to its full potential. And that's why we really, even though we qualified, basically last because we didn't do any laps. And then in the race, we were pretty slow because, like I said, we couldn't properly repair the car until I got back to the workshop. So yeah, it was a shame what happened at St. Pete. I lost a lot of points. I was very, you know, frustrated, but I was confident that I had the speed to be fighting at the front, knowing how well I was doing in the tests, the preseason testing and stuff. So I knew I just had to, you know, stay focused, prepare well for the next race, which was Arlington. And, you know, we did that and we were, you know, fighting for the win at Arlington. I think we ended up finishing second. And then we had just a really good run from there. Barber, we were second. Then we were fourth at Barber, the second race. Then we won Indy and now third in the last one. So I think I've been the one that scored the most points at Indy and then the second most points at Barber. So I think if we didn't have that St. Pete, what happened at St. Pete there, I think we'd be definitely better in the points positioning, but we're still there in the fight. I think I'm only like 15 points from the leader. It's super tight. I think there's a 4-way battle right now for the championship lead. So that's really cool. And I think that's great for the series. And yeah, we just have to keep working hard and focusing on our goals.
And I guess to follow up on that, I think you're right, like 4 or 5 drivers within like 20 points, which is obviously pretty close. So I know it's pretty early in the season, but at what stage do you kind of make decisions within races with that kind of championship in mind, in terms of maybe playing the percentage game a bit, not taking risks? Like, how does that work kind of psychologically for you in terms of kind of focusing on the championship?
Honestly, like I think it's been nice, because like whenever I had the shunt at St. Pete and didn't have a great weekend, and then I went to the next races, and then you can see that the guys that were a bit higher up in the championship were being like a bit more cautious, and I didn't care. I was like, man, I have to just send it. And now, like every race, it's like it's becoming cleaner and cleaner, the racing, because the guys at the front, us, were like, if we have a DNF here, it's going to cost us a lot, especially in the way that the point systems work in IndyCar and Indy NXT. So yeah, I think it's just being smart, but at the same time, you can't be too cautious. I mean, you want to go out there and win races, and that's how you get championships. But at the same time, not making mistakes, because like one mistake, especially, you can lose a lot of points if you get like a DNF or something in Indy NXT. So it's just being clean. I think just being clean and aggressive at the same time will be key.
We're going to be thinking a lot more about ovals in the coming months. We've got Gateway coming up, Nashville not too soon after that. So kind of what your initial thoughts on racing on ovals for the first time, given that you've had your whole career in Europe effectively to this point?
I'm super excited. I did a test at Nashville Super Speedway like a month and a half ago. It was my first time on an oval, and that was insane. Like the speeds are very crazy, and I really enjoyed it. And then when we went to Gateway a few weeks ago, I also really enjoyed it, and I'm excited. I can't wait. It's a whole different experience for me. It's a whole different world, oval racing. I think experience is huge in oval racing, so I'm sure the guys that have a lot of experience in the oval racing or have been doing Indy NXT for a few years will have an advantage. But I know I learn quick, and I'm sure I'll be strong on the ovals.
Come that first time you go on an oval in a test, especially kind of a higher speed oval like Nashville, like, is it kind of like scary? Do you kind of feel the speed maybe a little bit more than you would do on road and street courses? And we've spoken to a few people who are like, they have a really kind of dizzy sensation once they first kind of do laps. So was that kind of the same basis for you as well?
Yeah, so like the first time I did the laps in Nashville, when I got out of the car, I was slightly dizzy, but that was the only time. And then your body gets used to it and everything. But yeah, the speeds are, I don't know how to explain it. It's because you're going through the banking and you just feel it through your whole body. It's like you're just stuck to the ground, and it's kind of a bit, you just really feel the G's, especially through the banking, and the wall is like right there. So you know that if you do like one little mistake and you're running so low downforce, that if you lose the rear, it's going to be really hard to catch it. And you're going to feel it. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of bravery goes into it, a lot of confidence. So yeah, I've always had massive respect for, all the drivers. When I was watching IndyCar growing up, the oval racing is a whole nother world. It's a whole different skill level. And yeah, it's really cool to see an IndyCar as well. Like, maybe there's some drivers that aren't great in road courses, but they're exceptionally good in ovals. And then there's some that are good in both, some that, are better in road courses, not as great in ovals. So that's what I like about IndyCar. It's very different. You see many different types of skills, and yeah.
And obviously your brother Pietro has been in IndyCar pretty recently. So I guess in what ways, if any, has he maybe helped you in this transition over to Indy NXT? And did he have kind of any influence with his recent experience on you kind of firming the decision to make this move over here?
Yeah, he was a big part of this of the decision with me. He helps me a lot in my career, and when we saw the opportunity, he said it as well, and I said it, like, I have to go for it. It's my only shot to make it to IndyCar, and I've always dreamed about being there. So we said let's do it. it's an amazing opportunity that HMD is giving to me, and I didn't think about it and just went full gas, full push. No plan B. There's only one plan, and that's making it to IndyCar, and hopefully trying to win the 500. That's the only goal in my mind right now, and I'll do whatever it takes to make it.
And the Fittipaldi surname is one of the most famous in motorsport history. So, what is the pressure that comes with being a Fittipaldi, and kind of how much do you enjoy that responsibility of carrying such an iconic family name into modern day motorsport?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, Fittipaldi is a legendary name in motorsports, both in the Formula One world and IndyCar, and yeah, it's an honor to be able to carry and continue representing the Fittipaldi name in the racing world and representing it well. But at the end of the day, I'm here as well to make my name, and that's my goal. But yeah, I'm super happy to continue representing the Fittipaldi name.
And just finally, you're kind of in a unique position where you've come to Indy NXT having already tested an IndyCar. So I guess what extra appreciation does that give you for that ultimate goal? And maybe just from those IndyCar tests, like what did you learn most about kind of the series, the car, and everything that comes with that?
Yeah, IndyCar is a beast. Like the car is amazing to drive, especially these Firestone tires that we use. I really enjoy them because compared to what we use in Europe, you only have like 1 or 2 laps in qualifying, and then the tires are dead. And especially in the race, your tires drop off. Like even in some races, I remember in Formula 2, it was like 3-4 seconds in Budapest, which was like insane. And then the Firestones, it's like you maybe drop off half a second, but you can push as hard every lap. Like you're constantly pushing. So physically, it's a lot more demanding on the body. Like physically, it's a lot more difficult than what it was in Formula 2. Like, yeah, Formula 2 was very heavy in qualifying, but like heavy for 1 or 2 laps. IndyCar the grip is there every lap. So it's like you do a 2-hour race. I mean, that's why these drivers, like you see a driver, like Joseph Newgarden or something, he looks like kind of like a bodybuilder, and you gotta be strong. Like these cars are very heavy to drive. So that's at home. I've been training like crazy. I've put on a decent amount of muscle and continuing to train and prepare myself, because I know that IndyCar is definitely a step heavier than Indy NXT physically and stuff. But I tested the IndyCar, and I did a great job with. I did 2 tests with McLaren, and then my first ever time in IndyCar was at Dale Coyne at Sebring. So yeah, I've had a great experience with that car. It's amazing to drive, and I really enjoyed it.
And Enzo, I guess just to end off, you're going to be at Detroit next time out. Obviously, another new circuit for you, a rather different circuit and a rather unique street course. So kind of what are your thoughts about racing there?
Super excited. Detroit looks super bumpy. I think they say it's one of the bumpiest tracks on the calendar. I think the only one that competes with it now is Arlington. So I've already experienced Arlington, so I kind of have an idea of how bumpy it is, but they say it's probably bumpier than Arlington. So yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be exciting. I mean, street course, I love street tracks. I've always done well in street tracks. Like Baku, I finished second. In F2, I won Jeddah, which was a street track in F2, and then at Arlington, I did pole in my group, finished second, was leading most of the race. So I have a really good history in street courses, and I can't wait to have the first taste of the streets of Detroit.
Enzo, we appreciate your time. Congratulations once again on you win the Indy Road course, and let's hope we'll see you back on it soon as a race victor once again.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.
Cool. So welcome back to Indy NXT Debrief. We've got a very special guest, Tymek Kucharczyk, the winner of Race 2 on the Indianapolis Road Course. We're here at the Indy 500. It's obviously day 3 of testing. So is this the first time you've ever been to the Indy 500, Tymek?
Yes, my first ever time.
Nice.
It is pretty big, to be fair. And I know it's just practice day, but it's already quite impressive.
What are your kind of thoughts on what you've seen so far?
I'm just a bit amazed, to be fair. I've only seen the race on a TV before. It's my first properly longer time in America. as well. So yeah, it is pretty cool. It's quite fun. I just show my hard card and I can get anywhere. That's pretty cool.
And I guess for you, like coming here and being here and seeing this is like probably a big part of why you came to America. So
Yeah.
I guess winding it back to the start of the season, like how did that move come about? How much of an attraction was something like the Indy 500? So yeah, just talk about like how you ended up here.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I ended up here with it was kind of a go where I didn't really thought that I would end up in Indy next, and then the opportunity came. I'm just like, well, why wouldn't I take it? I raced in America before in karting, and I loved the vibe. I love the lifestyle of the racing here. It's just so like rough and old school, and I'm more of an old school guy as well. So I really like it. And to be fair, yeah, IndyCar is obviously something I would want to pursue. I think right now is the most natural step is to jump to IndyCar, and being able to see the Indy 500, and also being able to be on a pit wall, see how the team works. We're very fortunate that HMD Motorsports has one car on the grid this year, and to see everything from up close is just also a very, very special way to experience my first Indy 500.
And what have you learned from kind of seeing all of that up close this week? Have you learned anything from kind of seeing the new IndyCar operation they've put together?
Yeah, well, I've learned that next year I really want to be in a car. I don't want to be trackside anymore. And to be fair, it's just the Indy 500, the week itself, it's so the whole month of May, it's so special. It's so unique. The amount of work and time you have to put into the car, into the practice sessions and everything is just crazy. Like it's all about Indy 500 here, and that's pretty cool because like you're in the center of attraction. So I think to be a race to be able to race there next year, hopefully, or one day would be just a dream come true. One of the biggest races ever, one of the biggest sporting event ever, and yeah, well, to compete in it and then potentially win, because if I would only compete only, then what's the point? I want to win it as well, and yeah, well, that'd be pretty amazing.
And we've spent this week trying to get adapted to American culture a little bit, and we're only over here for 2 weeks. So, how's it been these past few months, kind of getting used to being out here in the States, and I guess also the racing culture over here is a bit different as well. So it's like a different culture away from
Yeah.
the track and a different culture like on the track as well.
Yeah, it is, and it is a big factor, the fact that I just moved here like 2 months ago. I've always lived with my family in my hometown in Poland. Even though I was racing all over the Europe, I was still living with my family, and it's my first ever time where I had to move, live alone, and to live not only abroad but on the other continent where I'm fully dependent on myself. It's a big factor, but I'm again very lucky enough. I've said it so many times. I'm just so lucky with working with people who actually support me and help me, and to be able to live also in an environment where Carmel, which is a couple of miles from here. I have my team right next to me. My teammates also live in the same complex. A lot of the team members are from Carmel as well, so it always makes living here a bit easier. But I'm enjoying my time. This is the most important thing. I'm here to have fun, and I'm having fun. So I love it, mate. And the racing aspect is so cool as well. I was a bit worried coming into this season, like, oh, how it will look like, because I've only seen the racing in the TV, right? I've never experienced it myself. Nevertheless, I love the racing, watching it on TV, and the first weekend at St. Pete was just so awesome. I was like, yeah, this is the place where I want to be. So yeah, it is really cool. And as I mentioned before, the racing here is more old school. You have to really fight for the positions, for the time, for every opportunity you get on a racetrack. There's not a lot of test days or practice sessions or anything, so every time you go out there, you just have to put kind of everything on one card. But also the risk reward is a big factor. You don't want to crash in the first practice and then be stuck in the qualifying with a new car or whatever whatsoever. So yeah, it is very interesting. But I'm glad that even though it's been hard for a couple of times, that the winter testing hasn't been as easy as I would love it to be. Yeah, the racing part was really good.
And I guess growing up in Poland, a lot of like motorsport tensions on F1, I presume, and Robert Kubica and kind of his legacy there. So,
Yeah.
growing up, how much association did you have with IndyCar? Is it something you ever watched, knew much about? Kind of what's that journey of, experiencing IndyCar as you kind of got older and more familiar with racing?
I mean, if I'm fair, you pretty much described it. Poland is actually not of a racing country at all. It's more of a rally country. Rally culture is much, much bigger in Poland than racing culture. We obviously had Robert Kubica, who raced in F1 and made a big impact on Polish culture in terms of racing, motorsport, karting, the kids growing up. I think when I was growing up, we nowadays have like probably the golden era of Polish drivers in motorsport, of young drivers in motorsport, and it's good that they're doing good, but at the same time, I never had like a close contact with American racing, with IndyCar. Probably the moment where I got a bit more interested in American racing was when I came here back in 2018 for the SCUSA Supernuts in Las Vegas, the karting race, and then I did pretty good. I pulled it in my first ever race in America, and people were like, oh, maybe you try something here, and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty interesting. And then obviously I came back to Europe. I raced for many, many more years there, but I always had like the American kind of dream of the ladder, of the championship system, of the scholarship system in the back of my head. And I was like, if if any opportunity pops out, racing like a good series here, I think I would take it. And obviously last year, um, when we tried to find a budget for F2, but then we failed. I had to look for an alternative, and I wanted to develop as a driver, but at the same time I wanted to stay in Formula racing. So yeah, just now I'm here.
And obviously now you're here, and now you're an Indy NXT race winner, coming off the back of your win on the Indianapolis road course. So, kind of just how does it feel to finally be victorious? You'd obviously started the year very well. There's a lot of podiums, a lot of top fives, but yet you hadn't had a victory. So, how good was it to get that victory over the line?
It is a bit crazy because I felt like it's long time coming, even though it's only a sixth race of the season. Yeah, we had a couple of podiums. We were pretty close a couple of times, and sometimes I was very disappointed because I knew I had a chance and I kind of blew it. For an example, in Arlington or in Barber Quali, where I should have probably pulled it, but then got some traffic and so on. So, it was hanging in the air, but I never really could maximize the potential and the package I had. And to be fair, after the quali, I thought like, oh, this weekend will be tough. And coming away with P4 and a P1 was a pretty good surprise, I would say. But yeah, I mean, I'm just happy that finally it clicked. Um, I think now it can be just only better. To be fair, I still feel like I have so much things to learn. I feel like we're developing the car so much throughout the season, and every time I go out on track, we learn something new, and I have a great team of people behind me. My engineer supports me so much, and he won the championship himself a couple of times, so he know how it's done, and he know what it takes to win the championship, to give me a good car. So yeah, I mean, it's just like an oiled up machine, to be fair, and we just start to click.
Nice. I think it probably was Arlington. I remember you being really disappointed after, and I was quite surprised because we'd obviously seen you being very upbeat and very talkative and everything, and I was like, yeah, this guy's super motivated. So like, I guess now you've actually got the win. Do you reflect back on obviously being a very consistent start, a lot of top fives? Do you reflect back on that and think like, actually, yeah, that was a better start than maybe I gave it credit for, or how do you reflect on that now that you are a winner?
Yeah, for sure. I think at the moment you don't appreciate what you achieve and what you have. So I was just frustrated because I know I didn't maximize my job. It's not that I'm frustrated because I finished P3, but it's just I was frustrated because I know I could have finished P1, and that means that I didn't do everything that I could, and I know like in a championship like this you have to take every opportunity that you have, and I took it last week. That's why I won. But in Arlington or Balber, I was just really frustrated because I know like there was more in it. But yeah, I think that the start of the season was really good. I think I didn't expect it to be that good, especially after the winter testing. And also the big factor was that I didn't really feel comfortable in the car for the first couple of days. I probably have the least experience on a grid. I didn't do much of last season testing because I only had 1 day in the car, whereas most of the drivers had also barber testing or autobahn testing. I haven't done it because of Macau and racing in Europe, so it was never going to be easy. I think I said it after St. Pete that I didn't feel like I was good enough for a P3. I felt like I was driving for P15 because I was just so uncomfortable in the car. I like no feel of the walls of the car, how close I am to the limit, and still ended up being P3. Was like, okay, well, that's pretty good. That just shows that the roof, the ceiling is really really high. Um, and yeah, I'm just slowly chipping away, slowly chipping away. Already at Arlington, I felt much more comfortable. And then yeah, I think the win was there, was hanging, and you know, also Indy. This place is more of a European type of style track. You could see how close it was in quali and so on. Also with IndyCar, like the field is so bunched up, so it's so in place like this where everyone has so much experience. All these American kids growing up around this place, just drive and drive and drive. This is like they home circuit, right, for most of them. Um, and it's so tight. So it's actually I would say it's harder to win on a place like this than any other really second on the calendar. So yeah, to do it here is just very very special.
And obviously Friday's race was wet as well, and I guess a lot of the American drivers don't have as much experience in the wet because it,
Yeah.
it seems like, especially on IndyCar weekends, we barely ever get rain. So
Yeah.
how did you find the kind of wet race? I guess you'd probably have a bit more
Oh, I loved
experience
it.
of that. You probably have more experience
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Europe.
Well, I've raced 2 years in England, in England in British Formula 3, so it was pissing rain like every weekend. So I don't remember not having like a wet session or a wet race during a race weekend in England, but that obviously helps a little bit. But I think it's mostly not really of the experience because every situation is different. Every time you go on a racetrack in wet conditions, it varies. It's just about how comfortable you feel in the car and how much confidence you're willing to show, to how much risk you're willing to take to be quick. And yeah, I just like it. I like the feeling of the car being a bit unstable, moves a bit, slides. I'm perfectly fine with it. I grew up in conditions like this where we had rally in Poland, snow and so on. So I always go sideways, no matter if it's a quad, if it's a car or a go-kart. It's something natural for me. I love, like, let's say, driving a cross kart or a rally car. So so yeah, I just this is type of the conditions that, well, I just like. And the race itself was a bit tricky because it was, well, at first it was kind of dry. It was probably not ready for wets, so you had to save the tires. And well, I jumped from like P8 to P3 in like matter of 3 laps, and then I was like, blimey, that's pretty good. Like I'm doing pretty good. Like I'm probably a bit too quick. And then I think I just relaxed a bit too much, and that caught me off guard. And when it was getting more and more wet, I just didn't maximize what I had. I felt like I was driving like grandpa that race. I was very, very unsatisfied with that race. So at the end, the result was P4, but it was a pretty bad race from my side.
So you speak about kind of getting up to speed. St. Petersburg, you didn't feel too comfortable, and kind of every time you're in the car since, you've kind of got that comfort. Do you feel now that you're pretty much fully comfortable in the car, or is there anything you still kind of identify that you still need to work on yourself?
I mean, for sure there is something that I have to work on myself. I'm not perfect. If I was perfect, I would have won every race in St. Pete, and I obviously didn't. But I think it's coming. I still have to remember how many things are different here in America compared to Europe, such as the tires, for an example, very big factor. I still think I've never had maximized the potential in the car, especially in quali. So that's something I have to work on. The more forward you start, the easier it is to get a result. It's not like every race I will start P5 and four drivers ahead of me will decide to go a bit wide in T1 and I will be able to capitalize on that. So yeah, there is for sure some work to be done. But I'm not fully aware of that. I'm looking forward to the process of learning, extracting new things. There's 3 oval rounds ahead of me as well, which is gonna be a big learning curve as well. First time racing on an oval will be a big experience. So let's see about that. But yeah, for the road course or street courses, for sure I feel more comfortably in the car. So I think I'll be able to extract a bit more.
Now, I was going to ask you about the ovals. I know you've done a kind of a lot of testing recently at Nashville, Gateway, those sort of places. So, kind of how comfortable did you feel after running those oval tests? How kind of prepared do you feel? And I guess, is that where you think, if we're looking at a bigger picture of a championship, where you may struggle in relation to some of your competitors?
I mean, for sure. At the beginning, for sure, I will struggle. Like, there is no way I'll be able to jump into the car and then be on top straight away, like let's say on a normal street course or a road course, because it's you're required to have a different skill set that I've never been able to learn, because we don't have ovals in Europe. So the Nashville test was my first ever test on oval, and like me coming from Europe, I was like, oh, it's an oval. Come on, you just go fully thin, turn left, and even a monkey can do it. But no, it is actually quite hard. When I got to the track and I was able to see the first couple of cars running at full speed, I'm like, damn, like this is quick, and the walls are pretty close to you, and they're pretty hard when you hit them. So I'm like, this is a bit tricky, but yeah, I mean, the first couple of laps were like, where am I? This is so fast. And also so unnatural, because you go into the corners and you're not lifting, you're not trying to manipulate the car to turn, you keep it pinned, And the quicker you go, the more grip you have, you really can feel it on oval. So yeah, the skill set is just so different. After my first round, I was so dizzy. I had a massive headache. But after that, it was pretty enjoyable day. I really liked the experience. I like the racing simulations we had, because I think it's just a bit like driving on wet. You're required to have, again, a different skill set. You have to be a bit more creative. It's more of a chess game rather than pure racing. You have to prepare your overtakes, be aware what's happening around you. You have a spotter that's always talking to you. There's just so many things that I was shocked by. Oh wow, okay, this is not as easy as I thought. But also the way you drive in the car, the turning points, the way you modulate the throttle is just so unique in a way. Yeah. Well, I expect myself to sometimes just go out and forget about all the things I have to do, because it's just so new and so different. And 2 days of testing on oval compared to drivers that race on oval in junior series or is racing the series for the second or third year, I would never be able to be at their level from the get-go. But it is what it is. I just have to make sure that I'm fully prepared for the weekends and I'm able to maximize what I have. And yeah, my engineer loves ovals, so I better not disappoint him.
Nice. And you've mentioned your European background. We're from England. I remember seeing you racing at Alton Park. That's my local track.
Okay.
So
I love Alton Park. What a
nice.
race.
So what are your best
One of my
memories?
favorites.
Your best memories of racing in England, in the UK, kind of being over there. A lot of wet, obviously, but
Yeah.
yeah, what are your favourite memories of that?
I can't name you one probably. I mean, racing in Europe, the most recent one was probably winning the championship in a Formula in a pretty nice style. Winning the race by 1,000 of a second and clinching the title was pretty cool. And doing this also on a home circuit of my team, because my team was Italian. Doing it on Monza was very special. But GB3 has been an amazing ride as well. It's been a roller coaster of a ride, to be fair. First year with Douglas Motorsport, it was up and downs, and it was sometimes really good, sometimes it was just really awful. The second year with High Tech, it's been much more stable, but at the same time, losing the championship by just a fraction, and that was a bit frustrating because we're leading for most of the season, and yeah, that was a bit of a shame. But other than that, it's been really cool, just racing, karting in Europe. My first year in Spanish F4, first time in like proper race cars. Yeah, so many memories. I can't just pick one, but yeah, it's easy to say the most recent one. So I'll probably say the winning the Euro Formula title.
So I guess going over to Britain, was there any kind of cultural shocks that you had in the country?
Tea with milk.
Tea with
Oh,
That's just
man.
so normal to us. That's like incredibly weird to hear.
I hate it. It's so bad. I don't know who invented it, but like it's.
What about in America? Is there anything since you come here which you thought was really weird?
Well, I think it was like kind of hard to adapt with the food.
Okay.
All in all, it's just different, Somehow I can say with you because you're from Europe, so
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we're like brothers, But their food is just so bad.
Everything's huge as well. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
this place, like, we're sat in the media centre at IMS, and like the office, like, it really struck us. Like, this place is huge.
Apart from the
Yeah.
podcast booth
Oh,
is
yeah.
tiny, but otherwise.
But everything's
Yeah.
huge. Like, that's the other thing.
That's true. Yeah, when you come here, it does a big factor as well. You come here, you go on a highway, and it's like flipping massive,
Lots of
The
potholes.
trucks are so big as well, and everything is just bigger. But yeah, at the same time, well, now it's kind of hard to say because I've been here for like 3 months, right?
Yeah.
So it's more natural. But yeah, well, it is always some form of a cultural shock, And you see like all these restaurants, fast foods everywhere, the way they build. For an example, we have like proper concrete buildings and so on. They have just wooden stuff, and then they're surprised every time the tornado comes and it blows everything. So it is a bit fascinating in a way, but at the same time, I'm really enjoying my time here. I would say like the move, the change to come here and race here has been one of the greatest probably moves I had in my career. And at the end of the day, I told you it's about having fun, and I'm having fun here. There's a lot of funny stories that I already had, and it's good for my lore, for my book in the future probably. So it's good.
I just wanted to end off. I know we'll probably have some of your fans listen to this. I think Polish fans must be the most passionate people in the world. Like in the British F3 streams or GB3 streams, they're all spamming the chat. Do you have like the same support since you come over to America?
I absolutely do. I think it's even better, to be fair. It's even growing. Day by day, it's growing. So it is obviously really cool. And to see all this commitment from Polish fans, watching the races, well, pretty late at night. It's pretty fascinating, and it's obviously cool to have. So big thank you to them. It also works as a big motivational factor for us drivers to see, a lot of Polish flags, a lot of Polish fans, to be able to share the moments with them. It's just so important. And at the end of the day, I'm kind of here because of them, because of their support, because I'm able to be kind of big in social media. Every follower like I have is like a business card for sponsors, and at the end of the day, I'm fully dependent on sponsorship. My family is not rich to make me afford in racing, so because of the funds, I'm able to race. So to see them, trackside or even on social media, every comment I get, the positive comment, the negative comments as well. they can say whatever, but yeah, it is very, very cool, you know. So yeah, when I won my first race last week, and there was quite a few Polish people here coming from like Chicago, Indiana, and so on. You know, having a picture with them with a big Polish flag is a cool feeling.
Awesome, Tymek. Once again, congratulations on your win. Obviously, puts you in a very good championship position. It was cool to do an Indy NXT Debrief in person, so you're the first one. Hopefully, maybe you've met very many, and let's hope we see you on the podcast plenty more this year, because that means you're winning more races. And ultimately, if you're winning more races, that'd be awesome. And
Hopefully
win the Indy
so.
500.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Yes.
and let's hope 1 year time you'll be out on track during this practice session, and
Yeah.
you've got better things to do than be talking to us.
Well,
Nice.
thank you for having me.
That's okay. Right, we're joined in person by Alessandro de Tullio for the first time. Obviously had you on like a couple of times over Zoom. This is rather different, which is awesome. We're here at the Indy 500. It's been a bit rained out this Monday, and the conditions are very good. But this is kind of your first time here at the Indy 500?
First time, yeah. I
Nice.
think. Well, last year I was in the. I think I went to Carb Day just to watch some practice from the stands. But today was cool. I was able to be in the timing stand with right next to Larry, with the 14 car, and it was really good, cool to see, you know, insights, look at some data, listen to the. I can't speak, but I listened to the driver and the engineers communicate, and it's a pretty cool insight, seeing how it all plays along and how practice day goes here in Indianapolis.
What are your thoughts on kind of have you had a chance to kind of see the cars going past, and kind of what do you think about that? Does that kind of feed the urge? Do you think like, oh crap, this is like pretty insane? Like what are your thoughts when you see it?
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, it's unreal the speed and then they all did like the race run practice, and they were all in a line, and you know, one thing is watching it on TV, and then one thing is watching it here in person. It's unreal.
And you kind of say you're learning a little bit off the point stand kind of throughout the day. Kind of what things are you learning in your mind? Is this actually it's more information if I ever make it to this race of kind of trying to embed into the team? Kind of tell us what you're kind of learning on that stand and how you're integrating with AJ Foyt Racing.
Yeah, that's why I'm here, and I mean, it's cool to watch, of course, and I want to be here to watch a race, but also being able to be in the timing stand and be in the debriefs, and it's just taking as much information. Like, I'm basically a sponge in there, like take as much information as I can for me as a driver, not because I'm gonna go anywhere else, but just to learn myself, because if one day I'm here, which I want to be, and that's my goal, is I want to have a bit of a head start. And obviously being with Kaio's a rookie, so it's nice to see how he gets on as a rookie, and then Santino obviously has a lot of experience, so it's good to hear from him as well and learn from him.
And looking back at the Indy Next stuff, right here at IMS, you've got another pole position, topped your group again twice, so that was 4 poles on the trot, 5 times in a row now that you've topped your group in qualifying. Thoughts on that? Like another pole position, kind of 1 lap pace is really something that seems to have clicked for you, so I guess why?
I'm not sure why. I mean, I kind of know why. Like, the car's fast. The team is doing an incredible job every weekend to have the car where we need it. I know eventually there's gonna be a weekend maybe where you miss a balance, or you know, that stuff happens. But right now we've been really just communicating very well. When we go to testing, we test stuff, and yeah, the 1 lap pace has been obviously really good. And yeah, just putting the laps together is also. It's been a nice feeling to be able to put the laps together and top my group, top some qualifying sessions. A shame we haven't converted most of them into race win or even a podium. Some unfortunate situations, but yeah, the speed is there.
And you've kind of got enough of a sample size now to maybe kind of compare a lot of data, especially against your expectations pre-season. I guess 1 lap pace has proved to be your really, really strong point, as we said, 4 poles on the bounce and 4 out of 6 races. So coming into the season, did you expect that to be a strength of yours, considering your lack of experience compared to a lot of the other field in the Indy NXT cars?
To be honest, I did not expect four poles out of 6 races, and started front row already 5 out of 6 races. Didn't really expect that much. I did expect us to be in the front because we were, especially at the last last preseason tests that we had. The last few ones we were thereabout, we were quick. But I was not expecting to go pull after pull after pull after pull, to be honest. Like, it's it's an amazing feeling. So yeah, just keep having at it.
And kind of how have you found that transition stepping up to Indy Next from USF? Because we've spoken to a few people who find the cars are very different to drive. The way you drive them is kind of quite different.
Yeah, it's another car. Like, first few times I got in it was, I had to get used to it. It's a bigger car, more power, turbo, and the tires are way different, bigger tires. So there's a lot more you need to get out of it for sure. But at the end, I think the biggest thing is understanding how the car must be driven, how the tire works, and it's something I've worked on and with my engineer, and it's just been clicking. Like, at the end of the day, it's still a car. It's just about finding what you need and what each driver needs. I know what I need, and clearly Joe, my engineer, knows what I need as well to make us go fast.
And looking at the race here at IMS that you were on pole for, just talk us a bit through kind of the challenges of turn one and ultimately what happened in turn one for you to kind of obviously drop back down the order there.
In race one?
In race one, yeah.
Yeah, turn one was tough. We had something going on. I'm not really going to say what, but we had something going on that was contributed a bit to what happened. To be honest, I didn't really look into it all that much. Like, I think knowing that it happened in quali, because in quali I went off in turn one, I think twice, because of the same thing, because of lockup. Something was contributing that, and I should have maybe been a bit safer going into turn one in the race, considering it was still doing it. So yeah, I mean, stuff happens. And then race two was we just got cut out in a bad position. Obviously didn't have a toe on the start because I was second, and they all towed behind the pole guy, and I just was left in a bad spot. They went wide and I got stuck behind them, so actually I contacted Nikita, hit his rear because they checked up pretty hard, so that start sucked too.
And then looking at race one, obviously when you do end up kind of dropping down the order because of what happened in turn one, kind of just talk a bit about how you regrouped then to obviously, you quite quickly started making positions back up. So I guess how does the approach suddenly change when you are kind of expecting to be at the front, you then end up at the back and you're making your way through? Just talk about that process.
I mean, the biggest thing is still staying out of trouble. It's a long race. We knew the rain was coming as well. So I had to take deep breaths and just focus on, well, first of all, avoiding the incidents because there was quite a few in front of me, and then just keep chipping away. I knew I could take the whole life out of the tire, so I was pushing as hard as I could, because we knew it was gonna rain, so I didn't care about the tire, to be honest. I was just trying to get up front. And we made a decent comeback. I think we went from 18th to 8th or 9th in a few laps, and then it rained out. And then in the rain, we just didn't have the pace. We missed it there.
And just talk a bit about the rain. Have you kind of got much experience in the wet, and kind of how do you like those conditions from a driving standpoint?
I love the condition. I mean, I love driving the wet. Haven't done it much in cars. Always loved it in karting. But we just missed it. Like, we didn't really have enough pace. I had to hold on and defend as much as I could because we couldn't really drive up front. We know what we missed it on, so yeah, we'll know for next time. I'm sure we'll be much stronger.
Since we last caught up with you, you've done quite a fair bit of testing before the Indianapolis road course race. You kind of part of that went to Gateway, went to Nashville, some kind of higher speed, more quote-unquote proper ovals. So kind of how did you find that experience of going on some high-speed ovals for the first time?
It was so cool. Yeah, it was great. Not quite as fast as this, but it's cool. You really have to be focused, and it's a lot harder than people think. I really enjoyed it, especially when we did some of the race sim. Like, it's cool having to find the air and having to find the grip yourself. And yeah, it's really important to also have, especially in testing, have good feedback, have good data to go over to just make the car better. And be strong once the race comes.
Obviously, I guess you've been used to in the lower categories racing ovals. I guess like Lucas Oil is a lot smaller. How did you feel when you got out of the car? Because we speak to some drivers and they're like they feel quite dizzy after they get out of the car for the first time after kind of going around on the bigger ovals.
Yeah.
So kind of what sort of sensations did you have there after that?
I felt it a bit in. We tested where first? Nashville.
Nashville, yeah.
I felt it after the first few runs that we did, where then I got out and went to look at data and I couldn't really see the lines. I had to like sit for a moment. But then you get used to it. It's just the first time after, like, it was my first time in an oval since Lucas Oil race went pro last year. So once you get used to it, it's fine.
I think I'm right in saying you've been over to Argentina as well, kind of in that lull after Barber. So what did you get up to there? How was that? Just talk a bit about that trip over to your homeland.
Yeah, I went for a few days, and it was fun. It was nice. I did a lot of media stuff there, which was really good. They also took me with open arms, and they were very kind. So that was very nice to see. And a lot of big, how do you say, like network, TV. They took me in, and it was a pleasure to be on doing all that. I ate a lot, ate well.
Nice.
Didn't really have much time because I had 3 full days flat out, like from place to place, just doing this sort of stuff. So I couldn't really do much. Just at night I was having big dinners, because during the day I couldn't really eat. Like I was eating cold sandwich because I didn't have time to go anywhere. But at night I was definitely eating a lot. It was nice, and obviously visiting Argentina it's always good.
You have to excuse my pronunciation. Am I right in saying mate is the really famous
Mate,
Argentine drink?
Yeah.
How far round has it got the HMD and AJ40 shop so far?
Pretty. Well, I found out that one of the engineers in there drinks, and he's French. That surprised me. Alex drinks mate. That surprised me. But I mean, now Jack Beaton asked for it. Tymek sometimes asks for it. Enzo likes it. There's quite a few.
It's popular.
Yeah, it's
getting
pretty
around.
popular. Yeah.
Okay. I saw Mike had some the other day. What was his impressions of it? So.
He said it was good.
Do you think
But
he
he
was
never.
lying?
But he never. I think he was lying because he never asked for it again. The others, some asked for it again. So that shows their real answers.
What is it actually made from? I know I've kind of seen like footballers
It's,
drinking it. And...
In Spanish, it's hierba.
Okay.
It's how do you say? It's not grass. It's
like herbs.
Herbs.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Nice.
Interesting.
It's good, and it's good for you. It's really good for you.
I think we'll have to try it.
Yeah, you have to give us some at some point. See what we
always
think.
before quali. Maybe that's. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe everyone starts drinking that.
Maybe that's a strategy for
Yeah.
polls. Argentine fans are crazy about their motorsport. We see it Franco Colapinto, we saw it with Agustin Canapino when he was racing here. So how have the Argentine fans embraced you so far? I'm starting to see more comments in Spanish on the Indy NXT channel. So how are they supporting you?
A lot of support. And after I won in Barber and got a bunch of nice messages, so that was really cool to see. And then still I get a lot of nice messages, both DMs and on the post. A lot of support, and each time it's gonna be more and more. So I hope it's gonna be more and more. But yeah, like you said, they're all very. How do I say? They're very passionate, especially with their athletes that represent their country. They're super. Once they hop on and they do it, they have to do it. So it's really nice to see, and that's what also motivates us to keep doing well for the country.
You might start a rivalry with Tymek, who's got the wildest fan base.
Yeah. He also has Polish. The Polish are also pretty passionate.
Yeah, they're good.
Brazilians as well. I mean, everyone has their own style, right? Each country, I'm sure everyone has supporters.
I'd like to think so. Although Britons aren't very patriotic at times, so we can't say too much.
Our British fans aren't always that passionate.
No?
Yeah, we're a bit jealous of the South Americans sometimes.
yeah, like even in Formula One, like Colapinto's like exploded. Like the event he had in Argentina had so many people. It was insane.
Cool. Well, nice to catch up with you in person. As we
Likewise.
said, if you win, you're going to be on here more often.
Good.
So keep on winning,
Yeah,
keep on
good.
getting pole positions,
Exactly.
keep on drinking mate before sessions, and you're going to be on here a lot.
Sadly
Exactly.
back on Zoom though.
Yeah.
Or you guys have to start coming to all our races.
Yeah, all that.
That's a better reasoning, right? So yeah, drink more mate, more
For
poles.
sure.
We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
guys.
So that's it for this week. Apologies for the slightly different episode. We're back to normal as we reflect on Detroit the week after the Indianapolis 500. Before then, we will have a new series coming up with an Indy NXT driver, so stay tuned for that. It's really good fun, and being a driver you'll see many times throughout the year. So stay tuned. It's going to be a really fun series. So that's going to happen probably Tuesday or Wednesday of Detroit week, which is going to be really, really fun. But for this time, Indy NXT Debrief, as always, thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.